Welcome to Don't Fear the Weight podcast with your host Vicky Masita, bringing together science and personal experience.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the next episode of the Don't Fear the Weight podcast. With me, your tiny titan host, as always, Vicky Masita. And look, I am actually wearing my badge of honor today, which is my tiny titan t-shirt, which unfortunately is a little bit bigger now because I must have got a little bit tinier, which is upsetting to say the least. But never mind, it's all good. It's all good. So today in the hot seat, I have got a small-ish kind of person, but not so small. He's massive in real life, but he's only tiny in my screen at the moment. Mr. Alex Maclin. Alex, how are you this morning, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you doing? I'm
really, really, really good. So we were just having a little bit of a chat offline saying that everything is gravy, baby. So everything's gravy with you today. And I'm going to try and get that phrase in as many times as I can in this podcast. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. It's all good. So Alex, for people who don't know who you are, just give us a little bit of a rundown about who you are, what your background is, and why I invited you on the podcast today.
Well, I guess my background, I've been a weightlifter. I got really involved in Olympic weightlifting, competing in Olympic weightlifting. My coach, who some of your listeners may know from the Barbell Shrug podcast, actually two of my coaches, Doug Larson and then Mike Bledsoe, I got involved with them back in the day. They convinced me to jump ship from my original plans to become a PhD and go work in the fitness industry. And wow. So I jumped ship and then started working with them as a weightlifting coach. And then, they had some programs and stuff and I would coach people. So I've actually been coaching for a while. I think, since like 2013, been coaching, and we had these big programs and, hundreds of athletes in there, like weightlifting, CrossFit, nutrition. So did that for a while and then was on the show for a little bit. And then, I left the company last year and started doing my own thing. And I really got into nutrition. Like my journey started off as weightlifting. I was super, super overweight in grad school. Just didn't have a lot of healthy habits, found the barbell, loved getting stronger. But nutrition was always one of the things where I just didn't have a really good grasp of. It was just, either, go in there and eat paleo, but then you're trying to lift heavy and then getting crushed. And then, then trying to make weight and all that kind of stuff. And I always lost strength. And it was always one of those things I struggled with until I really took a concerted effort to learn as much as I could about nutrition. So, I got really into the nutrition aspect later part of my fitness time with my tenure with Shrugged. And then, started coaching people on my own. And then, I left the company and I've now just branched out and just started coaching people as just myself. My whole thing is, basic as fuck nutrition. That's my hashtag that I don't know where I got it from. That's just what I came up with, but, that's what I'm about. I'm about keeping things really simple and basic. Like, there's a lot of fitness information out there and perhaps like 99% of people don't really, it's not really pertinent to them. They just need help with just the basics. So, that's what I'm about, keeping things very, very simple. Like, I'm all about another thing is like put some green shit on your plate. Like, making sure you're having some basic habits because it's all about sustainability, right? Like if you are going to be fit, you want to be fit for life. So that's why I try to help people. That's my mission, is to try to help people sustain their fitness and their health and their nutrition, healthy eating habits. Yeah.
And that's what I really like about it. And what really drew me to yourself was this whole aspect of basic as fuck, because even though you have elite level athletes, I train and I coach elite level athletes with their nutrition, and I've got powerlifters and weightlifters just like you do. The majority of the time, they are sick at their lifts. Their shit are at them. But when you break down their nutrition, they have not even got the basics right. And it's quite scary, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually, I was just talking about this with a friend of mine because we were talking about how this person performs the way she performs, but her nutrition is like absolute, like, I mean, just the basics down. Like, you know, she's a very high level athlete, but what could she do if her nutrition was just at a moderate level of competency, you know? Like, yeah,
exactly.
There's so much left on the table.
That's it. And people don't actually realize it. Now, if you just want to have, I mean, the whole thing comes to everybody, I suppose, because if you just want to go from having a dad bod to having a beach bod for a holiday, as long as you kind of like clean up and get the basics right, you don't need none of this, you know, carb cycling, intermittent fasting bullshit that everybody wants to do, and then the supplements. and I've had people come to me saying, what supplements should I take? I'm like, well, first of all, you're eating too many, you know, Krispy Kremes, and you're eating too many of this, and you're not having enough of that. And then they're like, oh, well, I'm just going to cut all of my carbs out. It's like, so you want to train twice a day, 5 days a week, and you want to cut all of your carbs out because you want to lose some weight. You know, what are you playing at? So, okay, so let's talk about the principle about basic as fuck nutrition, because people can find that if you search the hashtag basic as fuck or basic AF on Instagram, you'll see a lot of Alex's posts up there. So go and have a look about it. But let's have a look at the principles of your basic as fuck nutrition approach. What are some of the actual fundamentals that you want people to, or you want to educate people to get right in the first instance? Yeah.
Well, I think the fundamental aspect is your nutrition needs to be based on, first, habits, not like doing some kind of diet all the time. I like to use the analogy of, like, I tell this to my clients all the time, like, we're building a house. With you, your nutrition and your lifestyle, it's like a house. And if you have, what's the first thing you got to do when you build a house? You got to have a good foundation. If your foundation sucks, or it's on, you know, crappy land, the house is not going to stand. And that's basically, and what happens with people, and what I use is diets and, you know, higher level type stuff, more complicated things, that's the roof. And if you have a roof and shitty walls and shitty foundation, the roof is going to come collapsing down. And that's what happens. That's why people, they go on, try to do these things. They try to do all the sexy shit, and they can do it for a little bit. And then it's not sustainable for them. And it becomes, and then they stop, and it comes crashing down. Yes. So the ultimate thing is, you know, basic as fuck is rooted in habits. The fittest people, like you, me, and then, you know, a lot of my colleagues, the fittest people are not fit and healthy because they are constantly dieting or doing the latest and greatest fad, whatever. It's because they have habits. And so that's really my main thing. And I try to base off some very key habits, like pillars of health, as my friend Lori calls them, pillars of health. But you know, some of my pillars of health are just obviously eating green shit, like getting enough vitamins through micronutrients through vegetables and fruits and whole unprocessed foods. Like if you like the whole case with the person like talking about, I want supplements. Why the hell are you talking about supplements when you're eating Krispy Kreme all day?
Well, like, because you can sprinkle it on top. You can sprinkle protein on the Krispy Kreme, and then it turns into a protein donut, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, okay, sure, if it fits your macros. But the thing is like, yeah, there's more to this than just, again, following diets, numbers, macros, and things like that. So that's just, you know, one example of, you know, a key habit. And there's some other ones, and I can go into detail if you want to, but it basically is rooted in habits. And I think where people think that they need to do is they need to jump towards just changing all their life all at once by doing some kind of crazy diet or whatever, when they really just need to slow down, take one step at a time, build brick by brick. That's how you build a house.
Damn right. Absolutely. Yeah. I was speaking to one of my friends who was also one of my training partners as well, and she wants me to help her with her nutrition. So because I also do a performance nutritional plan for somebody who she sponsors, and she's an elite level, top 12 in the world squash player. So we focus all of her stuff into her nutrition and her performance. Now, it's unbelievable what we've done with her in the last kind of 5 weeks. We've increased her speed, we've increased her hitting ratio, we've increased absolutely everything just by changing her food around and just making her aware of basics, you know. Now we're going to get into manipulating some of the bits. But this other person, this is not a squash player, you know. This is a big power lifter. She's immensely strong. She just wants to obviously get stronger and feel a bit better and stuff like that. Now, when I'm just interested in your thoughts about this one as well. When I asked for her to give me a 5-day recall diary, every single day she had a Mars bar. Every day, without fail, right? So because she doesn't understand about macros, she doesn't understand about flexible dieting just yet, I gave her 3 simple days that she can swap and change and pick and choose from. But every single one of those days, I gave her a Mars bar. Now, the thing is, she was like, there's no way I'm going to lose weight on this. There's no way I'm going to do this. But it's like we were just talking about. It's habits, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I take everything away from her, including that Mars bar, what's going to happen? She's going to become obsessed with the fact that she hasn't had a Mars bar. So tell me about your thoughts about that one. Do you do the same thing with your everyday clients?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it has to be, one, you had to meet somebody where they are. And if your client, you know, this power lifter, was it a female? Yeah,
female.
Female. Yeah. So she was eating a Mars bar every single day. Okay. What is the smallest possible step that you are willing, and that's the key word, is willing to take to make a change? Because we know that we need to make some kind of change here, because you've been doing this the whole time and you're not seeing what you want to see. And so you have to be willing to make some kind of change. And I always ask that of my people that I'm working with, you know, what are you willing to do? People always want to talk about, well, I can't do this. I can't do this. All right. What can you do? Let's do that. Okay. And make a commitment to doing that. So if you have the ability to do that, all right, so you probably asked her, like, are you cool with that? Are you down with that? And she's like, okay, I'll try it out probably. I don't know if I'm going to lose weight. But now you showed her, oh, damn, like, you know, I could still have Mars bars, but I just don't need to eat them every single day, right? So, yeah, so now she is more confident that she is able to do it. And now that becomes something sustainable for her, because she loves Mars bars. And if you were to take it away from her completely, one, she may do it for a little bit, or she may just completely rebel and go behind your back and just eat them and not tell you, because she probably thinks that you're judging her. And then that doesn't help, because now you're developing all sorts of issues. This is how people get food issues. This is how I got some food issues. Just being ashamed of the fact that, oh, I shouldn't be eating this, you know, that kind of stuff. So, you know, again, meeting somebody where they are and giving them the very smallest step that they are willing to take. That's absolutely.
Damn right. I really love that. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your food issues. Everybody knows that I have a really long history of an eating disorder, and it never leaves us. It's always, you know, it's always there. It's probably at the back of my mind now rather than being at the forefront, but I still have bad days, and everybody on my social media following and everybody on this channel knows that I'm very passionate about educating people about not to be ashamed to admit that they've got an eating disorder. So what were some of the issues that you had surrounding food? Was it probably food guilt?
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, definitely there was a time. So I was not a lot of people know this. I don't really share this. I probably should, you know, I probably should be more open about this type of stuff, because I've had a few clients that I talked with about it, and it's always about, like, and they come to me and they're like, well, I was always supposed to hit these numbers and hit these numbers. I'm like, look, it is not, I tell people this, and maybe coaches out there will disagree. I don't care. It's not always about the numbers and hitting the numbers. It's a lot to do. Yeah, that's going to help you make changes, but you got to pay attention to how you're feeling and what your mind is and what you're thinking. Because if you are trying to hit these numbers and it's driving you crazy, and to the point where you are binging or either restricting to a certain level, like, then it doesn't make sense. There's a disconnect there. And that's kind of what was happening. You know, there was a lot of pressure for me to make weight for a meet. I had built this meet up. It was, people can go watch the lead up to it. Barbell Shrug, they did a video about me going to the American Open, which was a really, really big goal of mine. It was my first national meet. And I worked really, really hard to do it. And I had to cut weight. I had gotten up to like 200 pounds just through the gains. And I had to cut weight. Yeah. I had to cut weight to like 85 kilos, which, so I had to lose like a good 10, 12 pounds. So, I did do macros and things like that to help me. But it got to the point where it was very, very, it was almost like I took it to the level of like, okay, how can I manipulate my food intake so I can get these like delicious foods in? And then as the process got harder to do, I became more obsessed with getting some of these types of foods. And you can call it, just because of sugar or whatever. But I think it was more so I was putting them on this like pedestal. And how can I get most of these foods? And then I was struggling to lose weight, and I was struggling with compliance and adherence. And then it reached a boiling point where I was just like, fuck this. I'm done. I'm tired of it. Like, I don't want to do it. And this is actually really crazy. I went to the grocery store and bought like all the food that I couldn't have. And I came home and sat in the dark and ate it by myself. And at that point I was like, what is wrong with me? I didn't log anything or whatever. I lied to my coach. I like made up like fake macros to like check in with, that type of shit. That's the type of shit. But what I think what the issue was there was just I had just become so obsessive about food, and it just caused me to like completely crack. And at that point, then I like stopped doing what I was doing. I just basically went just rogue and just went back to just doing, and in hindsight, basic as fuck shit. Yeah. And I was able to, not have any other occurrences, but there's still usually it's taken me a while to get over like, food guilt. I'm trying to diet, or I'm trying to lose weight, or there's a lot of pressure. Like, I don't know. I mean, no, I will talk about this, but like, I was heavier, not fat or weight. I didn't think I was super, super strong, but I wasn't lean. Mm-hmm. And, I'd be working out with my shirt off, and people would comment on Instagram, like, Alex is fat. Like, why is he so fat? And, a lot of body shaming in there and all that kind of stuff. So there was that kind of pressure. And then there was always that guilt there when I ate something I felt like I shouldn't have. There was that, oh, well, you're always going to be fat, and these people are always going to be fat, and they're not going to take you seriously. So it's taken me a little while to get over that. But I think what will kind of turn the head is just over time, just, realizing it's just food, and that, and I also have left kind of the whole like treat meal, cheat meal kind of doctrine. Yeah. If I want something, I allow myself to have it. There's no putting this on this pedestal, like, and I understand, like, as long as I have it, I'm just going to go back to doing what I'm normally doing. And just kind of letting go of like the pressure of needing to look a certain way and all that kind of stuff has also helped. So, yeah.
Definitely. We've got to take into account mental health as well as physical health. And there's a lot that goes to it, and people don't understand it. I've got, just still talking about the food issues type of thing, I've got a couple of clients who are recovering anorexics, and just getting them to try some new foods is a massive achievement in them. I've got a girl at the moment, bless her heart, she's absolutely phenomenal. She never ever tried feta cheese before, right? Mm-hmm. And I love feta cheese. I love cheese of all kinds because I just like cheese, So we had this challenge. I've got a Facebook group with all of my Titans in it, and we had a challenge, and it was called the Feta Cheese of Life Challenge. And even though this challenge has now ended, every single day she will take a picture of the feta cheese that she has and sends it to me. And then I will take a picture of my feta cheese and then send it to her, because this helps her understand that it is a safe food and it's not guilty, you know, and it's not a guilty pleasure that you've got to sit there and just kind of go, oh, yeah, like the Cookie Monster in the toilet, right? So it's like one of those, and it's very, very, it's a closed subject and almost like a taboo subject that people want to talk about anymore. And I think it is really important, especially for somebody as high level as you. You know, you are well known on the Barbell Shrug podcast and all the YouTube videos that you do there with your basic as fuck nutrition. And I think it is important to know that we don't all walk into a gym looking like an elite level weightlifter. And we don't all perform like that. And all of these elite level weightlifters like yourself, I mean, didn't you have to spit at one point to like make weight?
No, I had to spit like for like 2 hours.
I mean, can you imagine doing that, guys? Seriously? I mean, Alex told me this story. He had to sit on a step with that gallon milk bottle.
Oh, yeah. Probably filled it about this high of spit. It was disgusting.
It is disgusting. And you had to have like 2 packets of Hubba Bubba or something, didn't you, to get?
Like sour candies and things like that, like jawbreakers, and just sitting there sucking on them and spitting into a milk jug.
It's just disgusting. I mean, but you see, this is what people do to make weight. I mean, it's just ridiculous, and people don't get that. But this is obviously the elite of the elite. Now let's move on from that and talk about the elite, because this is one of the big things that we wanted to talk about, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So everybody wants to be elite, world class, Olympic standard yesterday.
Yeah.
And what are people trying to emulate? What do you think that the fitness industry is doing and promoting and making things so unrealistic for our everyday clients?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, the thing is so there was recently some doping scandals in the realm of CrossFit recently. I think like eight people, at least initially, got popped. I hate that term, actually. Popped. like you got popped, bro. Like I don't like it. They got busted for taking performance enhancing drugs. It's just one of those things, and I posted on my own personal page. And I was like, I hope people, if anything comes out of this, people start realizing that you trying to emulate what some of these higher level elite athletes are doing, not understanding that some of them do indeed have help. Not all of them, but some of them are doing things that you are not doing, and not just with taking drugs, like other things. Like if you think about it, these athletes, this is what they do. They don't have a 9 or 8 to 5 job. A lot of them don't have kids. Yeah, they don't have other responsibilities that other people have, and most people have, right? But then you have folks that see their idols, training 5 to 6 times a day, with shredded up abs to the gills, like ab veins everywhere. And, and I'm really tired of it. Again, my friend Laura, you should have her on the show, by the way. I'll tell her to come on the show. She's great. She's awesome. She's fiery, man. But she made a post, which was very, very, it's like you see some of these elite athletes post their nutrition, and it's like, I'm eating 1,600 calories a day. Like, what? Like, are you serious? Like, do you realize the message that you're sending out to people? Like, to eat very, very little food and try to train like you may get away with it because maybe you are just blessed with a fantastic genetics and fantastic metabolism, can deal with that kind of punishment. And then you don't have a job where you have to go to work every day, and you don't have kids, and maybe you're taking some shit to help you out, but the other people are not. Yeah. And the issue is that people try to emulate this and they break themselves. I hate using the term broken, but you can't call it anything else, because when someone comes to me wanting help, and it's usually like, well, I don't know why I can't get lean and can't lose body fat. And then I look at what they're doing, and they're not sleeping. They're not eating. They're stressed out to the max. They're training, 3 or 4 times a day, 7 days a week, no rest days. And like they wonder, they have no energy. They're wondering why they can't see the results they're working so hard to do. And my first thing is like, you need to just back the fuck off all of this shit. And it's usually met with a lot of resistance, because they're like, well, such and such does it. Why can't I do it? And I'm like, you got to think about their situation, and you are not them. Mm-hmm. And I think people don't really understand that. Like, you are an individual, and there's circumstances that you don't see behind the curtain. So as you said, you don't see, and you're just seeing the outside result, the end result.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw that post that Laurie put up, actually. I do follow her and speak to her a little bit on Instagram and things. I think she's got a really good message that she's sending across. And one of the biggest ones that I saw recently were about these CrossFitters who were saying, I eat 1,600 calories a day.
Yeah.
And on a rest day, I intermittent fast. I have no carbs.
Yeah.
And then I do this like of an evening time. And I'm there thinking, what the actual fuck do these people recover on? If you're telling me that you're training 3 a days, so like you do a fasted workout anyway, these are on your training days, you do a fasted workout, which is going to be like your long or low intensity, steady state cardio for like half an hour to 40 minutes. And some of these sessions have still got like sled drags and prowler pushes in it. And that's low intensity to them. Right. Then they've got their WOD in the middle of the day. And then their afternoon bit, their evening one, they do another steady state session, or they'll do like a lactate threshold or something along those lines. And then they call that a training day, and they eat 1,600 calories. Yep. I was like, dude, how on earth can you fuel that on 1,600 calories? That is rubbish. And then when they put a YouTube video, and then they say a full day of eating with me, they either do not know how to calculate calories or whatever, because that girl is not eating 1,600 calories. She has that in between her fasted cardio and her WOD, but it's been proven time and time again that you cannot just do that. And like you were saying, people are emulating themselves, and they go from being a family man or a family mom and stuff like that. And then they're like, right, I'm going to be an elite level CrossFitter. Overnight, I'm going to be an elite level CrossFitter. And then they wonder why they break at doing 2-a-days 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, well, some of these people, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm pissed off with it, because there's a girl on Instagram that I follow and stalk, and, she's amazing. But she's got abs that are thicker than my thighs. And I think to myself, why the hell have I not got abs like that?
Right. And
it's because I'm genetically not gifted in that manner. Mm-hmm. And I'm probably not eating as much as she is anyway.
Yeah.
So what about the recovery aspect when it comes to food? So we obviously spoke about intermittent fasting and not eating on rest days. And I know that Laurie posted something about that. So what's your opinion on different calories on rest days?
I mean, it depends on what your goals are, for sure. I mean, if you're purely for just how you look, aesthetics, it's okay. I would say it's acceptable. But if you care at all about performance, getting stronger, moving faster in the gym, like that's not a protocol that's going to help you. If you think about it, like glycogen replenishment and all that kind of stuff takes 24 to 36 hours. So, I mean, what you're doing after you train is going to help you for the next day. So then what you eat for the day, for your rest day, is going to be used for the next day. So if you're going at from a performance perspective, it's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for you. Now, again, you may look great, but that's the thing. Like, there's always going to be trade-offs. There's trade-offs to everything. You cannot have Jason Phillips, another great nutrition guy. He's awesome. You should have him on the show too. But he kind of talks about this, like,
a lot of podcasts from you here, Alex.
Yeah. He talks about this like triangle of, I can't remember what he calls it, but if you think about it, it's like you've got performance at one end, and you've got looks at another end, and you've got health at another point of the triangle. by nature, you cannot be in one end of the triangle and be in the other two. You just can't. So if you're all performance, you're going to have to do things, some of your actions and some of the outcomes are not going to align with great looks or superb health. Yeah. And so for most people, a balance point in the middle is where you got to try to look for. But again, like depending on your goals, where are we shifted more towards, right? So if you're more focused, people want to say like, well, I want to get better, I want to get stronger, get faster at WODs, then you can't be doing like something like carb cycling or intermittent fasting and expect to perform well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the same goes for like powerlifters and various other strength sports as well, not just CrossFit, Powerlifters obviously don't use a lot of glycogen when they do their lifts and things, but when it comes to their off season and they want to bring up a lot of volume.
Right. A lot of volume, right.
Exactly. Yeah. They're still going to have these carbs. And it's again, when I talk about it's almost nutrition or performance cycling with their nutrition, because I will change nutrition. Exactly, right? I will change nutrition based on their seasons and based on their actual workouts. If you're doing 2 a days, or you're doing a hell of a lot of volume, then you're going to need some more carbs. If you're not doing so much volume and you're kind of peaking and that kind of thing, then okay, you don't need as much because you're not going to be breaking down a crap load of glycogen. You're using a different system. Right. You're still going to need food.
Still need food.
Still need food. Basic as fuck. You still need food.
There is.
Right. So, okay. So, one more thing that I want to get in terms of getting the basics right. Right. One thing that I'm really now very passionate about after speaking to yourself about it, being grateful in your life. And being mindful about things. So talk to me about your thoughts about that. I know you're passionate about it.
Yeah, I mean, mindfulness is something that a lot of people in the fitness and nutrition space don't really talk about when it comes to just basic nutrition. First of all, thinking about, again, it's not just about the numbers. It's not just about hitting targets or whatever. You have to be aware of how food makes you feel, how it affects you mentally, emotionally. People like to say food is just food, food is fuel. I guess you could say it from a performance standpoint, but there's so much involved with food other than that. So being mindful of certain things, being aware of your behaviors, I really, really try to preach that to my clients. Just understanding why you're doing some of the things that you're doing, how things make you feel. Because if you start to realize that, then you can start to make your own decisions, which ultimately, as a coach, and I'm sure you agree, is we want people to be empowered to make their own decisions. So you have to have some mindfulness and develop some mindfulness there. The other aspect, is gratitude. Again, especially with nutrition and fitness, I wrote a post about this the other day. It was about valuing the process instead of the outcome. And my thing about that is I wrote in there is expressing some gratitude, because again, we like to focus on what we don't have, the negative stuff, what we're not doing, what could be better. What about just thinking sometimes about, damn, man, I've got a lot of great shit going on in my life right now, and honestly, I think thinking about that is going to propels you to want to do more of it, which sometimes, in my opinion, nutrition is not necessarily always about what not to do, but how can we do more of the things that are helping you move you into the right direction. Yeah. So taking some time to be grateful for those things and grateful for who you're becoming and what you're learning, even through the fuck ups, right? Mess ups and mistakes. I'm still grateful for all the mistakes. I made a ton. All the mistakes that I've made as an athlete, as a coach, as an individual, like a person going through life. I'm grateful for all of those things because they have taught me some shit.
Yeah.
And that's really, and if you take a second to be grateful and practice gratitude for those things, then you will realize that, yeah, shit ain't so bad, right?
Absolutely. I love that by saying, you know, you're grateful for the fuck ups, because I'm grateful for mine. I went through a terrible prep in 2015, and I was actually saying the other day on the post that I put on there, it was the post that I put up called the Holy Fuck Prep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was prepped really badly. But I did actually put on there, you know, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't change a damn thing, because it taught me exactly what not to do.
Exactly.
How to approach clients when they are doing the exact same thing. And unfortunately, it still goes on today. It's like the guy who invented the light bulb, who for some unknown reason, I cannot remember his name.
What, Edison?
Well, yeah, him. Let's go with Edison.
Yeah.
So he invented the light bulb. It took him 98 times to invent the light bulb. And people were there saying, God, you're such a failure. And he said, I never failed. I just found out 97 ways how not to make a light bulb.
Right. Yep.
You know, and that's what we've got to consider. We've got to be grateful for these fuck ups that we do and the mistakes that we make, because we learn from them.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Practicing gratitude. I think that's something that a lot more people should do on a daily basis. I keep a journal. It's been very, very therapeutic. I've suggested to you to also start keeping a journal. Yeah, I mean, I think if you keep up with it, you're gonna realize, like, man, this is actually really good. My life is awesome. Yeah.
And it's unreal as well, you know, because there are so many people out there who just go, oh, I'm too busy. And it's the same with food, and it's the same with training, and it's the same with everything else. They're like, I want to do this, and I want to do this yesterday. You know, I want to have a better arch on my bench, right?
Yeah.
I have to spend half an hour every day working on the arch on my bench. We're going over a foam roller, doing the whole scat retraction routine, you know, and everything like that. And my excuse for the last 2 weeks that I haven't done it, I'm too busy. Well, do you know what? You just go to the gym 20 minutes earlier, and then you start 20 minutes earlier, because you do have that time. You know, what do I do within that time period? How can I manipulate my diary a little bit more? The amount of people that say to me, oh, I find it so difficult. I just don't have time to prep food. So I'm out on the road again. Okay, what do you do between the hours of 6 o'clock when you get in and 9 o'clock at night before you get ready to go to bed? Or watch TV. Okay, so why don't you come in at 6 o'clock at night, watch TV for an hour, speak to your missus, play with the kids, and then at 7 o'clock, when the kids are getting ready for bed, you then go and prep your food. It's not going to take you 4 hours to prep food.
Yeah.
And then you still get to watch TV for another hour afterwards. But you've given up half an hour of your time and just kind of made your priorities in a different order.
Yeah. And I think that's really, I mean, knowing priorities is also, it just ties back to just being mindful, right? And being aware. So, I mean, think about the first time you ever logged food. Right. And you're probably, you were either, there's either two scenarios. You're either like, holy shit, I'm eating like a fuck ton, or like, oh my God, I'm not eating at all. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'll be off logging all of this shit for an hour.
Yeah. So just going back and just building awareness and being mindful, like, again, like that all plays into, because if you're mindful and you're aware of something, you can change it. If you don't know it's not happening, you can't change it.
Absolutely. No, I love that. I think that's a really, really nice note to leave this on as well, Alex. Before we go, just a couple of things. One thing that I ask everybody is, what is the one thing that you would want somebody to take away from this particular podcast and you'd really want to ingrain into them to start?
I would say that last point, but just valuing the process rather than the outcome. You know, we place a lot of pressure on ourselves to always just be focused and hyper-focused on the numbers and the outcomes and what the scale says and what we look like and all that kind of stuff. And like, honestly, like just from being in this space for as long as I have, not as long as other people, but I've seen people just get burnt out, and I almost got burnt out from it. And it's not the outcome that makes all of this special, Because as soon as you deadlift 400, what's the next thing you want to do? You want to deadlift 405, right? Yeah. It's not the outcome that makes it special. It's what you learn and who you become along the journey. And if you could take a second to, and this is why, again, practicing gratitude, if you can take a second and express some gratitude about all the things that have happened and who you've become and who you've learned, guarantee you just want to keep doing it. And yeah, even getting the outcome will be sweet, but you'll look back and reflect and be like, man, like, look how far I have come. That's what I want to leave people with.
Yeah, I love that. I do love that. And it's so true, isn't it? It's like, okay, great. You've reached that 400 kilo mark, but now what?
Yeah.
Being a bodybuilder, I've now got my world pro card status. Okay, great. Now what?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not appreciating the journey of what you have gone through. And it's a lot to go through, a hell of a lot to go through. So yeah, looking back in reflection is a big thing. Excellent. So Alex, where can people find you? Where can they follow you? Where can they stalk you on social media?
They can stalk me on social media on Instagram, Alex Q Maclin, just my name. I'm not a very hyper creative person, so they can also reach out to me on my website, alexmaclin.com. I do one-on-one nutrition consults. So we do a 90-minute call. So if you're interested in doing that, getting on the phone with me, getting some advice, happy to help.
Coolio. And I'll make sure that I get all the links and put those in the comment section. And guys, if you do have any questions for Alex or myself, then obviously please put them in the comment section and give us a thumbs up, a like, and a share as always, so I can keep on getting some awesome guests on. And by the sounds of it, I've already got 2 more guests on because Alex is there. So yeah, get them on the show. So we'll do that one. So we shall sign off from there. Thank you very much for your time, Alex. It has been gravy. See, I got one in there.
All gravy, baby.
All gravy. So I got one in. And guys, thank you very much. And we will see you on the next episode of Don't Fear the Weight.
Thanks, Vic.